welcome to the next Lukozer retro game review video. As you've just heard, this is now this came out in 1987 as a Sega release, and this is the game that sort of really kick-started the whole idea of making aliens particularly repulsive and vile and everything else. I guess you could say that the film Aliens was really the one that started it, but certainly in the video game industry this was the one that really saw it take off, and it became quite the fad, and there were all sorts of games with this sort of design, particularly with the actual, like I say, the actual aliens themselves. Now, I don't believe this for an instant, but back in the day, I was told that this was released as a sequel to Quartet. Apart from the fact that both games are made by Sega, I cannot see any similarity between the two, so I don't believe for one instant that this is a Quartet sequel. For one thing, this game's a billion times better than Quartet, but then that's really not difficult. So let's get a game underway. You can choose what character you play as. I play as the bloke because, well, you'll see why.
The time bomb is set.
Right, so we have to go around rescuing as many of our comrades as we can. You only need to rescue 10, and then you can get the fuck out of here. Now, as you've heard, a time bomb has been set, so you have to do this in a time limit, which is, well, if you know, seen many of my arcade game reviews, you will know that setting a time limit is one of my big pet hates with arcade games. All time limits do is try and force you into rushing rather than actually being able to do anything major. Now, these green bastards are the ones I really don't like because they keep hanging back and firing at you. That's okay. Alright, so I need to rescue 2 more, 1 more. I can go to the exit. Yep, go to the exit now. Which is up around here. There's another one I can rescue, but now we head straight into the boss. Now, the boss is a bit of a pain in the arse actually, because in order to actually hit him, that opening bit there has to be open, but when it is open, he's fired at you, so being able to get any shots in at him requires some pretty good timing. Once you've finally dispatched him in this form, he sort of bursts apart, like so. And now the head part attacks you on his own. And you have to shoot the head not too many times, but enough. There we go, and that's level 1 done.
Round 2.
And that's
the time bomb is set.
That's the game, really. That's everything. It's just now different levels, different looking aliens, but this is the game in its entirety. So, oh, fuck's sake. Firing at point blank. Yeah, cheers for that, cunt. Alright. Back in the day, I used to be able to regularly get to level 3. More often than not, I could get to the boss of level 3, but I was never able to defeat the boss of level 3, although I could get bloody close to it on quite a few occasions. I can't remember if there's anyone else down here. No. It doesn't help that I'm taking a bit too long to actually get anywhere, because you need to leave yourself a decent amount of time to destroy the boss. Some bosses are relatively easy. The boss of level 2 is a bit of a cunt, simply because you have to destroy so much. As well, you'll see in a minute, because I've only got to rescue 3 more, and then we'll bugger off to sort him out. Alright, 2 more. Fuck off. Die, cunt. Alright, now there's another one just around here somewhere.
Go to the exit.
Alright, the exit's right here. There we go. So here we are at the boss of level 3. Oh, fuck's sake. Oh, fucking bollocks. So, alright, I made a complete fuck up of that. And there are no continues of any kind. Even though they were, back in the day, just about every arcade game allowed you to continue. This one, which had enough variety so that you wanted to continue, nope, no continue option. So, right, let's get another game underway, and this time we will start the review. So we'll start with the audio. The sound effects, I think, are pretty good, and the music during the level is quite atmospheric. The
Round 1. The time bomb is set.
The speech is possibly some of the worst I've ever heard in any arcade game. It is, well, it goes from totally, well, you can't understand a word it's saying, to what you've just heard there. You know, starting round 1, the time bomb is set, and it's said with all the conviction of somebody who's reading out a fucking phone book. So yeah, the speech is absolutely fucking shite of the highest order. Graphically, the graphics on the aliens I think are pretty good. The graphics on the people, particularly the person who you control, I think are abysmal, because they are clearly fucking manga based. So it's, you know, the female character that you can be has the fucking big eyes, which I utterly detest in manga comic book illustrations. You know, it looks about as human as, well, the aliens that you're fucking fighting in the game, you know. So, but I mean, everything else, yeah, the aliens look good. The backgrounds are pretty good. You know, the actual environments that you're wandering around, and the gameplay is it's not too bad. You know, I mean, there's nothing here that's particularly unique, but it does have some annoying things about it. Firstly, no continues. Secondly, the fucking annoying thing about there being a time limit, of course they try to disguise the fact that it is just a time limit by saying, oh, it's a time bomb that's been set. Yeah, okay. Yeah, oh, fuck off. Time bomb is set. It's a fucking time limit you're imposing on us. And made a complete fuck up of that. Oh, I thought that was game over.
Hurry up.
There's another thing, the difficulty is pretty high actually, not as bad as the some of the conversions.
The time bomb is set.
Right, well I'm not going to get fuck all nowhere on this one because I don't have enough lives. I fucking made it with 1 life left. Fuck off. And if that bollocks about this being a sequel to Quartet is true, then yes, this is a billion times better than Quartet. But then, you know, finding a game that isn't, you know, well, that's gonna take some doing. It wasn't exactly a rip-roaring success when this game came out. I'm not entirely sure why, because I mean it's certainly decent enough, but I think it was just the fact that by the time this did come along, it was a case of we've seen it all before sort of thing, and so it didn't catch anyone's imagination. That was a fuck up and half. So I didn't even make it at the fucking boss of level 2 this time. And of course, no fucking continues. I'll put in 2 credits to see if that makes any difference, but I doubt it.
Round 1. The time bomb is set.
So, yeah, putting extra credits makes fuck all difference, so... now of the conversions, I only ever played the Commodore 64 one. I don't know if there was an Amiga conversion, but the Commodore 64 version was okay, apart from the fact that for starters the difficulty level was too high, and for another the scrolling was far too slow and you constantly had to slow down and wait for the scrolling to catch you up. That's, you know, fucking abysmal, but, oh well. And it did rather, well, that and the stupid difficulty level ruined what would have been a decent game, and certainly a decent conversion. It would have been up there with the, you know, things like the Commodore 64 conversion of Salamander. It was that good.
Go to the
Or at least it has potentially that good. The arcade original is infinitely more enjoyable than the Commodore 64 conversion. So, in fact, I mean, apart from the niggles, you know, your characters looking like fucking manga anime characters, which I fucking detest, and the countdown, and yes, it is pretty difficult going sometimes. It's still a decent game, you know. It's one that I used to play a fair bit back in the day. I wouldn't say I played it like, you know, religiously or anything like that, but I did play it a fair old amount, and yeah, I always quite enjoyed it. So I will give this 8 out of 10. I think it's you know, look past the irritating parts and you will find a pretty decent game here. I'd like it even more if I could actually get to level 3 again. And say, I used to be able to do that all the time. Fuck off! There we go. I was in control. Die, you cunts. Now, some of the power-ups are borderline useless, really. You may have noticed I always go for the fireball. There's bombs that you can throw which are useless. There's also a flamethrower which would be useful against certain bosses, particularly the boss of this level, if it works properly, but it doesn't always, so I ignore it. I thought that was a bit too close for comfort there. So how many more have I got to rescue? 4. Well, I'll grab that as a second. Ultimately, of course, one thing that you can't really escape is the fact that this is a Gauntlet clone to a degree. But then, I mean, Gauntlet wasn't a bad game. There's no way you could say it was, but well, by this time, fucking poxy, of course. No, can't fucking continue. I don't even think there's an option to allow it. Nope. So, mind you, I can adjust the timer by the looks of it. Oh, I can make the timer lower, but that's it. Fuck off. Well, there we go. So that is Alien Syndrome then. Yeah, 8 out of 10. It's a decent game, but not perfect. It does have some issues, and I do rather feel that those issues could easily have been ironed out, but they just didn't bother. So yeah, it's a good game, but it could be better. So Alien Syndrome gets 8 out of 10. That brings this review to an end, and we will see you at the next one.